Hi, and welcome to Scrolling to Death. This will be a super eye-opening conversation on the topics of phones in schools. And I'm joined today by Bill Henricks. Bill is a high school art teacher in the state of Illinois and developed a product called the Phone Locker, a simple solution to a big distraction in schools and in businesses. Thanks for joining me today, Bill.
You bet. Can't wait to get started.
Yeah. So tell me first how long you've been teaching.
This is my 29th year teaching. I did
Ooh.
25 years in Missouri, and this is my 4th year now in Illinois.
Incredible. So you've seen quite an evolution of phones within the classroom. And as a parent, I can only imagine what it's like to be in your position competing with dozens of teenagers who have phones. But tell me what this evolution has been like for you within the classroom.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because when I started teaching, obviously there was no cell phones, or they were not no smartphones, I should say. There were cell phones, but just not the smartphones that are the problem with social media today
Yeah.
in the classroom. But um, the when I going into this whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't getting through as many lessons as I normally did, and I really wanted to figure out, what the issue was. I'm repeating myself a lot. I was not getting through, 2 or 3 assignments that I normally get through, and I noticed a lot of the distractions with the cell phones, and trying to put my finger on it. I saw a this thing on Facebook where somebody counted the notifications that the kids had during class period. So I decided to do that on my own. So I had a class come in. It was an hour, 25-minute class. I had 17 students, and I said, "Hey, today we're going to turn on our cell phones." And I made this big chart, and I put all the different things up there. Facebook, which was really not any of the kids didn't really hit Facebook that much, but
Right.
TikTok, Snapchat, all of them,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, other text messaging, all the things. And I said, every time that your notification goes off, I want you to put a mark on the board. It was nonstop. Just
Wow.
by the time we got to the end, we had in an hour and 25 minutes, 17 kids, over 1,100 notifications.
It's not surprising. I think the research is over 2,000 each teenager is getting over 2,000 notifications a day.
That makes
How,
sense because this is one class. Yeah.
yeah. How are they supposed to concentrate on anything?
Yeah, they really can't. Like that's part of that's part of the issue with the engagement in the class is it's not that the kids won't put the phones away when you ask them to, but
Mm-hmm.
when it's on their person, they're very distracted by any buzz in their purse, in their backpack, or in their pocket. Once that thing goes off, then their focus shifts somewhere else.
And what I've learned by speaking with brain experts recently is that dopamine hit that you're getting from something addictive like a phone, it actually hits right before you do the thing. So when you get that notification and you think in your mind, ooh, I wonder what that is, that's that dopamine spike in their brain, that feel good chemical that's hitting them. And
Right.
that's the anticipation. They cannot not look, and removing that distraction is really important in an educational situation and in many situations. I wondered, did your school implement any policies around phones at any point?
They try to say no cell phones. They try to say keep them in your backpack. All the teachers were doing their own different thing, so there was no consistency. So the students were going from one class where the teachers really didn't care that much. They go to another class where the teachers were taking their phones, going to another class where they just like put them on your desk. It was every class was something different. But if the phone was within arm's reach of them, it didn't really matter because they were going to be distracted during that class period anyway. So a lot of the things that we tried really didn't work. And then a lot of schools are trying to do this. Well, we're going to ban cell phones. There's just that's impossible. You're not going to ban cell phones. It's a big tug of war with parents.
Okay.
Cell phones are not going to go away. So yeah, it's a pretty difficult situation.
So you think the phone ban's not a possible solution, not a good
Not,
solution?
any school who says we're banning the cell phones and then it's working, in my opinion, they're lying to themselves. I've been in hundreds of schools walk down hallways, even with administrators that says, "Hey, we don't have an issue with cell phones." I actually just a couple months ago asked the administrator when I was there, he wanted to take a walk down the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of surprised because I guess he was looking for, what we were looking for. Walk down, there wasn't a single class where there wasn't at least 5 students in every class, not just on a cell phone, but above their desk on their cell phones.
Wow. Because it could be for the teacher. What's the teacher's reason for not calling them out in class if they have their cell phone out? It's distracting.
I,
It's distracting to everybody.
I think the biggest part there is it's so much, and when it's overwhelming how many students have their cell phones out,
Mm-hmm.
that eventually the consequences aren't there. And when things aren't happening to the students that have their cell phones out, teachers just stop giving discipline to students with cell phones. They don't want to fight the battle. They don't want the confrontation with the student either.
Right. Okay. So let me ask you, I mean, there's stats out that nearly 80% of schools in the US have cell phone bans in the schools. So you think, potentially that's something that they put in place, but it's not being enforced or successfully enforced?
Correct. That kids are still going to bring their cell phones with them. If they're going to have a ban, the cell phones are still going to be on the students, and then eventually it kind of works its way right back to where we're just not going to deal with it anymore. It's like I said, the parents don't want the ban; they want a compromise of some kind.
Yeah.
They want their kids to have cell phones at the same time. They don't want their kids to have access to the cell phones during instructional time.
But you hear a lot of teachers saying, well, the kids are talking to the parents all day on the cell phones. The parents are the ones calling them and texting them all day.
I'm guilty of it.
Yeah.
I had a high school daughter. I sent a text that I thought, she's a straight A student when she was in high
Mm-hmm.
school. Thought she would just answer me after school. I got an answer within like 30 seconds. And I'm like, okay, so there we are. That it's I kind of attributed to the whole problem there, but
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, even your best kids are still going to be distracted by their cell phones.
absolutely. So let's talk through some of these objections since we're on that, and then let's talk maybe some solutions too and products that
Okay.
could be available. So I posted on Instagram about this phone ban. So I reported an article from the Wall Street Journal that the Orange County School District banned phones in their 200 something schools, and they are seeing, per their reporting, in the last couple of months of implementing the phone ban, a decrease in bullying and an increase in student engagement. So simply reported that article, and this post has gotten 2.2 million views, almost 10,000 comments. So I took some time, went through the comments, most of them, a lot of them, and I would say most are really favorable to phone bans, teachers and parents alike. But there's a very loud minority of parents, and some teachers too, but parents that are saying, well, let's get this one out of the way. What about my type 1 diabetic kid using their phone as a sugar monitor? Like, we're assuming that there's medical exceptions here, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. I just want to get that out of the way. A lot of people are commenting that. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. So there's a ton of objections around objections around emergency situations. So parents are saying things like, how are students supposed to get help during a school shooting? Or parents are saying, I am not 100% okay with this. I want to know if my kid is immediately okay and his exact location. Lots of school shooting comments. So what just are your thoughts around that?
Well, I probably have a different angle on that.
Yeah.
A couple different things. One, as a parent, I'd want to get a hold of my child too in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Also, at the same time, because of the training that we get with school shootings, students having their cell phones really isn't the best thing to happen during this situation. We've seen in school shooting situations where students are Snapchatting what's going on. They're wanting to get video because in their head, I got to go viral, right? So
Mm.
they focus on the wrong thing, and safety is not like their number one concern there. For the parents, it is. for a lot of the students, yeah, they're probably going to be freaking out here, or whatever. But if they feel safe in their classroom, now their thought is, let me see how much of this I can record, and then um, at the same time, if you have a class of 25 students and everybody's on their cell phone, it's not quiet. You're supposed to be quiet, turn the lights off, barricade the doors, do everything you can to keep your classroom safe. And in a situation like that, it's kind of a two-way street, really. You have one is an instance where you don't want your students on the phone, but at some point you want the student to have a phone.
Right. When it's safe, when
Right.
we're all good and it's safe to contact parents. And that's just an interesting perspective that they are going to look at it like, ooh, I'm going to get a lot of attention and likes and, engagement from this through my social media platform. And there is a bit of a blurred line between like real life violence and entertainment violence for these kids these days. And so they may not see the seriousness of the situation during the situation and put themselves in more danger by trying to capture something or get involved in that way. Well, so a lot of people are pointing to the parents as a reason why these things are not successful. Phone bans are not successful. So a teacher would share something like, our local school district adopted a phone ban and parents went nuts. Parents demanded that their kid be able to use their cell phone at school. Can you guess, quote, can you guess who's the biggest problem in education? Parents. What do you think about that?
Parents, they have concern for the safety. They
Mhm.
also, students have a lot of stuff going on even after school. So they
Yeah.
immediately want they have sporting events, they have clubs, and, they have to get rides, and having a cell phone these days. I know, back when I first started teaching, we didn't have cell phones and we made it just fine. But people also have to understand that, right now there are cell phones. It is what it is. We're not going to be able to get away from it. So we need to figure out that compromise where we can have cell phones and still get an education.
Yeah. A lot of parents are sharing like that phone is my property. You won't take it from my kid, or is that even legal to take it from my kid? Do you have any perspective on that?
That's a big thing too. Some teachers don't want to take the cell phones because you're talking about $1,200 to $1,500 cell phone,
Mm-hmm.
where something could happen to it, and now
Mm-hmm.
the teacher's reliable for it, and they would be.
Yeah,
There's a lot of things that can happen. You could have a student say, "Well, this isn't how I gave you my cell phone. Why is it cracked?" And no, there's
sure.
a lot of different things that can happen that you're going to deal with in a school setting, um, where the person that's controlling the cell phone should be the student.
Okay, great. So on the teacher's side, I'm getting objections like, why is it my job or why is it the school's job to teach the kids regulation of their cell phone when that should be the parent's job? What do you feel about that?
Well, I feel like as a teacher, that's part of our job. Okay, we're not just teaching the class that we're teaching. We're also
Mm-hmm.
teaching the students soft skills they need to learn in life. They also need to learn that there are situations that they don't necessarily have to have their cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they're not used to being away from their cell phones, and I think a lot of students, when they do get away from their cell phones, realize there's a lot of just there's not as they get to relax a minute. There's
Mm-hmm.
not always 1,000 things going on. They can unplug for an hour and still be okay, and
Yeah.
then they'll have their cell phone when they have their cell phone. But I don't. A lot of students are just not used to that. They go to bed, put their cell phone down. They wake up, picking their cell phone up. It's like a third arm.
Yeah. And
They've
adults
grown
too.
up with cell phones.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's something to be said for if you put your phone away for an hour, 2 hours. That's exciting to have. Maybe you have now 20 notifications rather than one every minute that you're checking it. So some delayed gratification lesson is good as well.
Right.
You saw phone bans not being effective, that if the kids are going to find a way around it, the teachers are not going to enforce it across the board or consistently. So, what solution, if any, have you been able to implement around this issue?
Well, to start,
Mm-hmm.
um, in my class, when I realized there was a lot of cell phone use, I literally took clear buckets, um, put a piece of wood across the top with a cutout hole in it, linoleum underneath, like stapled underneath, where the kids could push their cell phones through. And I ratchet strapped them to my tables, and so the kids could push them in, but they couldn't take them out. And I was like, they're right there in front of them, so they know they weren't going anywhere. They were safe.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it was a big hassle at the end of the hour because it took 5-10 minutes to get all the tables unstrapped, but it was worth it to me to get the phones out of their hands when I realized um, that they were getting work done.
Mm-hmm.
So I teach an art class, so there's a little more social. They're talking to each other, they're working,
Mm-hmm.
they're not distracted by their cell phones. We were getting work done. I wasn't repeating myself anymore. I was getting to the
Yeah.
point where we're at the end of the semester, and I was like, wow, I mean, I'm able to get through what I used to get through before there were cell phones. And that's kind of where
Wow.
my aha moment was I was like, there's got to be something that can be done to get cell phones out of the students' hands during instructional time, because the amount of engagement that is missing due to cell phones is astronomical.
Mm. So that wasn't, the long-term solution for you because that was time consuming
No,
and, we
yeah.
evolved. So where did it go from there?
So I decided to put my brain to work and try to come up with a solution for all schools. I wanted to come up with a product that students could use, but I wanted to make sure that it was a product for students, for parents, administrators, and for teachers. I wanted this product to be made strictly for schools, based on my experience in the classroom and what I've seen, across the board, many schools on cell phone use.
Mm-hmm.
So I developed a phone locker, and my phone locker is controlled by the teacher remotely, but
Mm.
is never touched. The phones are never touched by the
Mm.
teacher. The students would put their phones in. They were remotely opened, and the students would take them out at the end of the hour. So I developed them to where it's quick access in case of emergencies. If teachers needed to use cell phones as a part of their class, they could say, "Hey, we're going to take them out. You got 10 minutes. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
put them back in," so that gave them time instead of just having them on their person the whole time.
Yeah.
I made the phone lockers clear in the front because separation anxiety is really big with students. Believe it or not, if they can't see their cell phones, that's what they're thinking about.
Mm.
Um, and so, in my thought process was, if I could have a safe place to put cell phones where students could still bring them to school, but there was a safe place to store them during instructional time. Grades have to go up and discipline has to go down. There's just no other way around it.
And that's what you saw happen.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And is the product, the phone locker product, in the kids' possession? Is it in your possession? Is it stay in the classroom?
So the phone lockers they can either attach to the walls in the classroom or
Okay.
on underneath the tables or desks. So they're in the actual classroom.
Okay.
So they're already open. The kids come into the classroom. First thing they do is put the cell phone in their phone locker. They have the
Mm-hmm.
same one they use every day. When they close it, it's locked.
And you control it from like an app on your phone, or how do you unlock them?
I have a remote. So this
Amazing.
remote is how it's controlled. There's two different ways to open the phone lockers.
Okay.
There's a delayed button where when the teacher hits the delayed button, um, it lights up. So once the
Right.
student sees this light up, they activate the buttons on their phone lockers. They have within 7 seconds to push the button, and then after that 7 seconds is up, they're all going to open up.
Okay.
And if I needed to get one or two out quickly, instant button. They would activate their phone lockers first. Teacher hits this, they instantly open up. You can
Okay.
use either one at any time to open the phone lockers, but the teacher still has control of that. The kids can push those buttons all day long in the class. Nothing's going to happen without the teacher activating the lockers to open.
Yeah. Just a question that came to mind. Do kids get to take their phones with them when they go to the bathroom? Because I hear a
No,
lot of people saying they're just going to go sit in the bathroom for 20 minutes and use their phone.
Yes, and that
No.
happens a lot. A lot of people, a lot of no, they do not. They stay in. They know they're
Okay.
safe. They leave. They do not have their cell phones. And you're right.
Okay.
They come back much quicker when they don't have
Okay.
them.
They actually just go to the bathroom. That's
Yes.
great. Have other teachers at your school implemented the phone locker too?
I had right in the school that I'm in right now. They're in my classroom, and they are in the. They have them in the um, in school suspension room, which
Okay.
the
Sure.
person that's in there with that room says that sometimes students want to. I hate to say this, but hey, I can go into in school suspension, sit there all day long on my phone, and
Right.
I'm good.
It's
But
not
with
a punishment.
when they have to go in there and when they have to go in there and put their phones in the phone locker, that's a long day.
Yeah.
So
Even for adults, having to sit
there's
there and just do nothing is difficult.
correct, yeah.
What has the students' reaction been to implementing this in the classroom?
So believe it or not, I talk to my kids all the time about it, especially at the end of the semester, and they don't hate it. Like they are almost, and I'm not saying 100% of them, but I'm saying 90 some percent of the students, when they get away from their cell phone, there's a little bit of, like I said, there's a lot less stress involved with their everyday life when they don't have to deal with all those notifications. They don't realize that until they're separated from their phones. They're the first ones to admit, yes, Mr. Hendricks, you are correct. I was more engaged. I'm getting more work done. I'm not distracted by my cell phone. As much as
Hmm.
some of them don't want to admit it, a lot of them do, and they don't hate it.
Yeah.
The first thing they do, it's like their own little locker. As soon as they come into the class, they walk in the classroom. The first thing they do is walk straight over there, put them in, and close it.
Yeah.
And kids need routine.
Yeah.
If they have that routine, it's not that big of a deal. There might be a little push in the beginning, but not. But I mean, at less than a week, it's just right into routine.
And they need help regulating. Their brain development is such that they can't make the best decision for themselves yet. They're still learning how to do that. So assisting them with when you put the distraction away, you actually will get more done. I wonder if even when they go home and they're doing their homework, if they put that together, that maybe if I put my phone way over there in the other room, I'll actually just get this done quicker and pay more and do a better job at it, pay more attention to what I'm trying to accomplish. Like
Sure, we
it's a
talk
long
about
term
that too.
lesson.
Yeah, there's soft skills. You're learning these. I mean, like when they leave high school and go to college, if they want to get an
Hmm.
education or any kind of school after high school or even a job,
Yep.
you have to learn that you don't need the cell phone every second of the day to survive.
Yeah.
You can get away from it for a second, and it's actually kind of relaxing not to have your cell phone on your person all the time.
Yeah. Look up and look people in the eye and have conversations and not have that
Yes.
option of looking down. That's incredible. I love this solution. How has it been going so far? Are schools open to something like this?
Yes. So when I first developed it, it was bad timing because it was in 2019
Oh,
when I was actually able to produce it. So obviously,
sorry about that.
COVID was the main thing. So they were trying to everything. Their focus was on virtual learning. So
Yeah,
now that we're
sure.
back in school, this is almost the first year where we have had nothing to do with any kind of COVID days. So
Hmm.
now the focus has been back on cell phones. It is a huge problem in every school. I'm sure it's the same at home. I'm sure it's the same at jobs. But what we see in schools, it's such a big problem that like I said, my product is just a big compromise. You can bring your cell phones to school, but during instructional time, they're going to get put away. Even if the teacher needs to use the cell phones for a short period of time, that's fine, but then they get put back away. They leave the idea is you're going to have the cell phones during passing time.
Hmm.
You're going to go into your next class, and you're going to repeat the process. You're going to put it in the phone locker, close it, instructional
Right.
time. So during
Right.
passing time and lunch, the kids will have their cell phones after school, but when you need to learn, when you're sitting in class and you need to engage in class, that distraction's gone.
And I think that parents would have a harder time objecting to that while, you know, the kids are still getting access to their phone between instructional times. And so the parents can still communicate with their kids. Obviously,
Hmm.
this emergency shooting situation, the kids won't have it on their body. So that's something that, parents might come back with. But it does seem like this solution is a good compromise given your experience that these full phone bans, not seeing the phone from 8 to 3 is not successful in your
Right.
experience.
And going back to the shooting situation too,
Mm-hmm.
with the way the phone lockers are spread out throughout the classroom, the
Mm-hmm.
kids can the first thing they're going to want if it's something that the school wants to do, have the kids get their phones during a situation like that.
Yeah.
Um, we can lock the doors down, barricade those up, barricade whatever we need to do. The phones take 1 second to get out of the phone locker, so it's not something that they
Okay.
can't get to quickly.
Right.
Whereas probably one of the other products on the market is that people are using, or teachers that are these bags that the kids are
Yes.
putting their cell
Yeah.
phones in, which it was not it was not developed for schools. It was developed for going to concerts
Concerts.
and
Yeah.
comedy shows. So that makes sense. That's a perfect product for that. But in a school situation, you're asking the kids, they're going home with the bags, and you're asking the kids to put their phones in their bags and bring them to school. Well, the kids, they're not going to
No.
put them in the bags.
No.
And the ones that do, now they can't get to their phones anyway. They're
Okay.
trapped in the bags. So that situation, that product, while works real well for what it was developed for, doesn't work real well in a classroom, and that's something that I had focused on as well when I was coming up with this product. I really wanted something that would work well in schools.
It's great that you improved upon that model, because that was my initial thought is, oh, it must be one of those bags when I first saw your product. And I just went to Chris Rock recently and had my phone. That was the first time I experienced one of those bags. And having to go back through the line and have them magnetically unlock it. And while that was a great experience for me, and people are commenting about that on my post, that there's products like this, and it's
Hmm.
refreshing to just be able to only watch something, and so that's a nice solution in that situation. But in the classroom, I can see that you've improved upon that model for sure. So is there anything else that you want to share around phone bans in schools, or just phones in schools in general, that you think would be important? Our listeners are mostly parents.
Hmm.
And so through this conversation, I really hope that parents and educators can sort of come together a bit more and have a better understanding of what each other are dealing with, instead of pointing fingers, team together on this issue. Because what we're all trying to do is help our kids regulate their phone use and get the most out of their time at school. So is there anything else you feel is important to share with this audience?
Well, not to beat a dead horse, but I really think that the best solution is to compromise. I really think that just cutting it off one way or the other is just not a compromise, and it's just a big battle that I don't think that schools need to face. I think we need to accept the fact that there's cell phones. We need to accept the fact that students are going to carry them, and and that's the whole reason why I came up with this product. I wanted something to that the kids can still have their cell phones, but at the same time, when they come to school, they can still get an education and get
Mm-hmm.
away from their cell phones during instructional time. I don't see, as a parent, there's no reason that a student can't come to school with a cell phone and still get an education. I just think there's got to be a solution out there for that, and that's I feel like the phone locker that I came up with. I mean, like I said, I'm not a sales guy. I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
I was never really a business owner. I just took my experience in the classroom and focused on what would work in a classroom that would be okay with the student, the parent, the administrator, and the teacher.
I mean, you're doing a great job on the sales end because it's coming from your experience, and it's a solution that makes sense given your experience in the classroom. And I think that it's something that school districts everywhere should consider. I know the trend right now is the phone bans, but I also am seeing so much of the pushback and parents saying, that phone ban's not working at all. I contact my kid all day. My kid texts me all day long, and teachers saying, this is too much for me to handle. I can't be managing the kids' cell phone use while trying to instruct them. I just really, really appreciate your perspective. We know that teenagers are more depressed than ever, more suicidal than ever, and phones are playing a huge role in that. So we really need to come together as trusted adults, both educators and parents, and support the kids' mental health and their development. And that's where the priority should be. There's no perfect scenario or solution, but if we're all supportive and open in these conversations and ideating around solutions like the phone locker, I think we're heading in the right direction.
Right. Can I show you how it works?
Yes. Show me how it works. Yes. I would love to see.
So this is the phone locker.
Okay.
Right here.
It's bigger than I thought in the pictures.
What's behind me. Okay. There's 4 of them behind me. This is how they go up in the classroom.
Yeah.
So here's the button on the side. I mean, it's big. Phone lockers the phones are getting bigger.
The phones are big.
Too,
I know phones. They don't make the small ones anymore. My husband likes this mini one, and they're not making them anymore.
Nope. So so like I said, the teacher hits this button here. The student then activates the button on the side. After the 7 seconds, the phone locker opens up. You can see that it opens up. Yeah. Phone gets slid down into the door of the phone locker. As soon as it's shut, it's locked.
Yeah.
This is made with the front of this is polycarbonate. It's the same plastic used for bulletproof glass. It's very strong, very sturdy. I know how tough kids are on equipment, so we had to make it real tough.
Yeah.
There's a circuit board in here and in the remote and a microprocessor to kind of it's RF is all it is. But and then you can also open them instantly if the student activates the button first. Yeah. And then the teacher hits the instant button, it immediately opens up. I'll show you from the side. Yeah. Push the button, opens up.
Amazing.
There's also a spot in here for smartwatches, just in case
Smartwatches, yep. That do almost everything the phone does.
Yes, it does. It's a little harder to get on there and mess around with social media. So that's one of the bigger issues. The back and forth between boyfriend, girlfriend, and social media and bullying and all that stuff. I am a firm believer that discipline goes way down when you get the cell phones away. Yeah. Kids like to record. Kids like to say, hey, we're meeting here for a fight. There's a lot of different things that go on the cell phone. There's some schools that I've gotten feedback where I have my cell phone lockers where discipline's gone down a lot just from getting the cell phones out during class time. Yeah.
Have kids asked, hey, can you make it so it charges my phone?
Yes. And guess what? In my classroom especially, so what we can do, so it's real simple to put a conduit across the top of the phone lockers. And then on the door of the phone locker, you can put a little notch in here. So kids can put their phones in here and still
connect the charger. Okay.
Yes. So that's the easiest way to do it.
Rather than actually having a charging piece on the bottom
because
or something.
As for the school, they want to have so that these are operated with a battery pack, so you wouldn't want to drain the battery packs and constantly have to replace them. So it's an easy solution if you wanted to put them in, especially in a new school. But it's easy to run a conduit and some plugs. But if that's something schools want to do, that's easy to do.
Okay, incredible. That's a really, really cool product, and I am excited to share it with the audience here at Scrolling to Death. But again, thank you so much, Bill, for reaching out and being open and honest with your thoughts and experiences. We need to hear from you guys in the classrooms about what's going on here.
Okay. I really appreciate the opportunity to share with what I have. I really hope that parents and administrators and school associates and everybody realize are accepting the fact that we don't have to just get rid of cell phones, that we can work together and compromise and get cell phones out of the students' hands during instructional time, because that's really all we want is students to get an education and still be able to go to school with their cell phones, because I said, they're not going anywhere, so why not work with them?
Yeah, it sounds like a more realistic solution.
Right.
Okay. So Bill, thank you again. Thank you everyone for listening to this episode of Scrolling to Death. As always, we'll continue to dive deeper into conversations like this and support the healthy development of our kids. So we'll catch you next time. Bill, thank you again. I really,
Thank you so
really,
much,
I do
Nikki.
appreciate your time. Okay. Have a
You bet.
wonderful conference day.